podcast excellence since 2005. This is the King of Podcasts radio network, kingofpodcasts.com.
How about we lose control and get tipsy over a bar song while sipping on espresso?
The King of Podcasts radio network proudly presents the Broadcasters Podcast. Here is the King of Podcasts.
Welcome to episode 360 of the Broadcasters Podcast. I am King of Podcasts. We're going to do a comprehensive look at the year of music 2024 because all the year-end charts came out, specifically the streaming charts. Billboard hasn't done theirs yet. Mediabase has done theirs. So we're going to run through those and see what the numbers tell us. And what were all of you, I sound like the official chart on BBC Radio 1, right? All the songs you've been downloading, listening, buying, and watching. That's what they do. Scott Mills was so good at it. Jack Saunders is okay. He's okay. I'm getting used to him. But I will say one thing. When I hear that official chart, which is very indicative of what really is what's viral on the charts regularly, unlike the Billboard chart, because if you look at the top 10 on a regular basis this year, you can tell that radio has too much of a stranglehold. And I don't know when Billboard's going to make another change to the methodology, but radio spins need to calculate those down more. Streaming has to count more towards what's going on. I don't know if it's impressions on TikTok or YouTube. Like YouTube streams, of course, the views and the streaming on Apple and Spotify and other places. That's very important. But I think more importantly, radio needs to take a step back. Listen, record labels don't even service radio like they do anymore. Promotions is going towards streaming. Let's just make that clear as well. Satellite radio, I guess there's somewhat of a significant difference with that, but like seriously, there's just not much to it. But we can see what the charts tell us and what we're getting so far. Now, Spotify Wrapped came in my app today, and I got to listen to it and look at it, and I was pretty cool about it. I thought it was interesting what they had. And on my list this year, when I look at it, I saw a number of things that came up overall that were interesting about it. So for myself and my personal stats, I listened for over 137,000 minutes this year. And it says what did I listen to? 6,150 songs this year. And then it tells me that the most listened to song I had of all my playlists this year was Tommy Richmond's $1 Million Baby. That was the number one song I had on my list. Happier by the Blessed Madonna and Clementine Douglas was number 2. And then I had all Spanish songs after that. Terapia de Choque, Brickell, and what was the other one? It was, La Durango. So Peso Pluma and Junior H. There's that. I spent 1,700 minutes listening to podcasts this year, among other things. And, they tell you the thing, like I'll tell you some of the Spotify Wrapped stats they give you when they try to tell you what months were your most popular and what kind of mood you're in, because like their dayist lists. I listened to 3,332 artists. Lomil, who did Lupita, was the big Dembo song of the year, which really did catch traction. That was the most listened to song I listened to for this year. And other than that, there was quite a bit to go along with it. But like I said, for the most part, the top artists on my list was Lomil, Donati, El Alfa. So top 3 are Dembo. The only non-Dembo artist on my top 5 was Charlie XCX, because I listened to a lot of Brat. Brat, personally, one of the best albums of the year. Like if you had to pick in my personal list, I'm very rhythmic and all. I'm here from South Florida, of course. So yeah, for me, it's all about the dance. All about that. And I was quite interesting for that. So I enjoyed that part. I thought that was fun to go and put into. As for the lists themselves, well, we're looking at the list right now and tell you how out of touch radio is. Mediabase has put out their top 100 songs of 2024. So Tate McRae and Greedy is the most played song on radio according to Mediabase. Wow. Lovin' on Me, Jack Harlow, a 2023 song, was number 2. Teddy Swims, Lose Control, a 2023 song, number 3. Agora Hills, Doja Cat, a 2023 song. Again, all these songs are from last year. Doja Cat, Agora Hills. Benson Boone, Beautiful Things. Doja Cat, Paint the Town Red. Sabrina Carpenter, Feather, which was last year. Espresso, Sabrina Carpenter, 8. Hoser Too Sweet, 9. Yeah, earlier this year. Shabuzi, a Bard song, is Taylor Swift, Cool Summer is 10. Shabuzi, Bar song is 11. Yeah, that's what's going on. And $1 Million Baby, by the way, 16 on this list. Looking what else we have in here. Calm Down from Rima and Selena Gomez is still in the list here. Really? Wow. Please, Please, Please by Sabrina Carpenter was 19. Chappell Roan's Good Luck Baby was 20. Yeah, what a ridiculous list this is right here. But again, so many songs are from last year because of how they spin this and how they put it together. And when you look at the media-based charts, all their songs, like for the most part, your top 20 songs on this list, they lasted 20 to 27 weeks. That was it. Maybe a little bit longer. But that's because of what they're doing. I mean, they really don't care. Media-based and the way they set up things is just a very crude and very antiquated calculation they have on what songs get played the most on radio. Because theirs is a tried and true method. They're not afraid of playing secondary market and putting out songs that are bona fide hits. Is such a tired trope that they have in radio. Music radio is just so hard behind. Meanwhile, you look at the Spotify lists and what they're doing now. Like if I had to go and look at the Spotify list as we speak and what they're doing for the year, it's like, come on, it's night and day different. So much different. And so we look at the wrapped list overall. Spotify put out this themselves. And to the top of the charts for this year, Chappell Roan, Shabuzi, and Sabrina Carpenter hit on the pop charts. They were the biggest pop stars of the year. The crossover of country like never before because of the likes of Beyonce, Shabuzi, Lana Del Rey, and Post Malone. Indie acts that really made a good big play. Clairo, who was on, I remember seeing her around before. MK.G and the Marie is getting critical acclaim and streaming success. And there were collaborations between artists that also did a lot of culture shifting, they said, when it came to Billie Eilish and Charlie XCX with Guess, Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars with Die With a Smile, and Beyonce and Miley Cyrus. And I forget the song they did. What can I say? On the top half of the list of the Spotify rap list, women hold 8 of those spots in the top half. So the global top artist of the year is Taylor Swift, 26.6 billion streams globally. Because again, she's an album artist for the most part with a number of singles. Torture Post Department, 1989 Taylor's version. There's like so much more that was going on that really made a big difference for her. Globally for the year of 2024, the most streamed artists, number 10 is Fide, which in the reggaeton world, he had a big album this year and it just blew up big time. Ariana Grande is 9, Kanye West 8, Peso Pluma 7, Travis Scott 6, Billie Eilish 5, Drake 4. Amazing because of the fact that he didn't hit so hard when it came to the, I mean, obviously he was getting a lot of streams because of the return of the big feud back in March, the rap battle. That was quite a discussion. And amazing to see. The Weeknd number 2, Taylor Swift number 1. Moving along, most streamed songs of globally were Die With a Smile at number 10, Cruel Summer 9, One of the Girls 8, Too Sweet, Hozier 7, End of Beginning Joe 6, Lose Control, Teddy Swims 5, Got the Only, Floyd Minor, Chris MJ 4, biggest reggaeton song of the year, Birds of a Feather, Billie Eilish 3, Beautiful Things, Benson Boone 2, Espresso, Sabrina Carpenter is the number 1 song globally, according to Spotify. And the albums this year, you have Starboy by The Weeknd, which just came back up. Fireworks and Rollerblades from Benson Boone. Lover, Taylor Swift. SOS for SZA. 1989, Taylor's version. Eternal Sunshine for Ariana Grande. Mañana Será Bonito, Karol G. Short and Sweet, Sabrina Carpenter 3. Hit Me Hard and Soft, Billie Eilish 2. And the Torture Poets Department, the Anthology, Taylor Swift number 1. And as for the podcast of the year, El Podcast de Marian Rojas Estape is 10. Café con Dios Pie at 9, Crime Junkie 8, Ratos de la Noche 7, Serial Killer 6, Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett 5 this peak weekend, but past weekend with Theo Vaughn 4, Huberman Lab 3, Call Her Daddy 2, and number 1, The Joe Rogan Experience once again. Can't say much about audiobooks, but I've not been really much about it, but I'll just say the top 3. Jeanette McCurdy's I'm Glad My Mom Died, The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien, and A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas is top 3 audiobooks. And most viral songs of the year, you have Not Like Us with Kendrick Lamar at 10, Espresso 9, and The Beginnings 8, We Can't Be Friends, Wait for Your Love 7, 6 Too Sweet, 5 Good Luck Babe, 4 Lose Control, 3 Beautiful Things, 2 Birds of a Feather, 1 Die With a Smile. And in the U.S., the top artists of the year, Metro Boomin, The Weeknd, Travis Scott, Kendrick Lamar, Future, Kanye West, Morgan Wallen, Zach Bryan, Drake, and Taylor Swift. Top 10 songs in the U.S., 6 Seasons, 10, I Remember Everything, 9, Casey Musgraves feature with Zach Bryan, Birds of a Feather, 8, Beautiful Things, 7, Good Luck Babe, 6, $1 Million Baby, 5, I Had Some Help, 4, Bar Song, 3, Not Like Us, 2, Espresso, 1. There's more into it, but again, they go quite to the spot. That is the Spotify list. Now, for the Apple list, top artists right now over there, Kendrick Lamar, Taylor Swift, Sabrina Carpenter, a few of the artists have made a strong impact. Benson Boone, number 2 on the global music list with Beautiful Things. And Espresso, Sabrina Carpenter, and Shabuzi's a bar song, and Taylor Swift's Cruel Summer behind him in that top 5. And Not Like Us, number 1 song in the global daily top 100, his longest run number 1 in the chart's history. So that was a big deal over there for that. And there was the global Shazam charts. Beautiful Things, Benson Boone, number 1. Lose Control, Got the Only, Sound of Silence, and I Like Way You Kiss Me, top 5 there. So overall, very interesting look at what the charts look like and how they came together this time around. But it's also interesting on how the charts also decided to kind of just slow down towards the end of the year and just like dry out. Because that was the part I was like, really didn't understand and why it came out like that anyway. For TikTok, their setup was that Latin music and K-pop thrived this year, and that's the platform's ability to drive trends. By the way, K-pop getting a big run right now because you have the members of Blackpink right now that have come out with new songs with Rosie and Jennie and Lisa all coming out with new songs, and they're doing pretty well, especially with APT with Rose and Bruno Mars. Rose, right? I'm going to mess it up, and that's some K-pop acts are out there going to be pissed off. I know, sorry about that. There were 15 plus million video creations thanks to Sabrina Carpenter's music with Espresso, Please, 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 and Taste. Top acts in the UK were Central C and Charlie XCX, but of course Band for Band was obviously made a big meaning this year along with Charlie XCX's music. And Oli Oberman, the global head of music business development for TikTok, says that 2024 TikTok truly became the music industry's primary launchpad for music, artists, and creativity. Remember all that stuff on Universal Music? Was that earlier this year? I'm trying to remember if it was last year. But that whole thing kind of like went by the wayside. And we're all kind of like set up and doing okay for the most part. So among the top songs, Got to Only is number 1 for TikTok this year, top songs globally. In the U.S., it was Sabrina Carpenter, top artist. Top song, $1 Million Baby for the year in music. And Carnival was 2. You had Tell Your Girlfriend Lay Banks was 3. You have Type Shit 4. Never Lose Me 5. Champagne Coast, Blood Orange 6. Birds of a Feather 7, Magic Johnson Ian 8, TJF Glorilla is 9, Got to Only is 10 in this particular list. And because of what happened this year, the importance of TikTok and what music meant from the way that TikTok has come in and has become the other arbiter of viral new music discovery. The story from Music Ally actually really puts a story about this as well. There were a lot of K-pop acts this year that also became part of being 7 of the top 10 artists globally on TikTok. N-Hyphen, NCT, Le Seraphim, Stray Cats, aespa, Tomorrow and Together, and Twice. TikTok uses music review as the latest opportunity to stake its claims for industry influence. The top 10 songs on their list generate more than 200 million video creations on the app, and 13 of the 16 Billboard Hot 100 number ones, and 10 of the 11 UK official chart number ones were tied to major TikTok trends. Important distinction. Radio can't really be a part of this. Radio's not even part of the mix. Does that make sense? When you look at the acts they had right there that became Hot 100 number one songs, yeah, they all had some kind of TikTok trends associated with them. And so what usually would happen is the TikTok trends would go ahead and carry a song on streaming for a while, a couple weeks, or longer. And then if they were going to make that transition to parlay into radio and the secondary market 8 to 12 weeks later, then you're golden. And that's exactly what happened this year. That's the rule. But why does radio want to be in that spot? I don't know. But they're happy to go and be in that spot. They actually are more than happy to be in that spot. They don't care. They just don't care at all. Now, one of the things I got to mention before about all these new charts and the streaming charts and what they did was, yes, there were a couple of things that people were complaining about when it came to Spotify Wrapped. They didn't provide listeners top music genres nor their top albums. They were given a music evolution list detailing a selection of created the titled musical microgenres to give the deist, right? They offered a Google learned AI service that created a 5-minute podcast that basically just reiterated what the Spotify Wrap was for you. So it wasn't necessarily great this year. I would prefer that they would not do that this time around, but I get what they're trying to do. It's like, it wasn't really, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to be, meme friendly, but it wasn't anything I cared for. So it's not much for me. Now, what we did get was quite a few new pop stars that really did come up into the ether of mainstream music. And you can see right now it's Brenda Carpenter, Chapel Roan. Charlie XX was always around, but it was just a great year for her. Really, the album just put out such a mainstream push for her, and it's great. And again, she parlayed it into a deluxe album, more remixes and things like that, and just really, all those songs are still charting very well right now. So there's a rise of a new guard that Exclaim.ca writes about. They say that in the 90s and 2000s, pop stars often appeared out of nowhere. Max Martin would usually produce a track, Chiron Studios, and then if an artist failed to make an impact with their first single, they were often labeled a feature and driven back to LAX in the back of a white Renault van. But now our latest slate of top-tier divas have been haunting the hype house for a surprisingly long time. Right, there's a lot of them that have been around for a while trying to get themselves up to prominence. Sabrina Carpenter has been around for years trying to grind through last 10 years anyway, after Girl Meets World. She's been at it. She's been putting a lot of music out there. And this is the year where, she gets to go and open up an Eras tour for Taylor Swift. That helped a lot for her. And then everything else just played into play. And she was just on top, doing great, especially worldwide. So when you look at Sabrina Carpenter, is Espresso and her 6th record album, short and sweet. Singles dominated the charts. Performances drew critical acclaim. And she had a high-profile relationship begin with Barry Keoghan to sweep the headlines, all that coming into play. Charlie XCX, she's been around, again, for a long time in the music space. And her 2024 release, Brat, brought her avant-garde sensibilities to space, a balance that resonated with critics and the broader public, and marked a triumph for her perseverance and artistic risk-taking, proving that years of experimentation have led her leading to the moment, an arcane-controlled pop destined to rise when we need her the most. Because again, the hyperpop hasn't always resonated well. Like, I like a lot of her songs. I really like her as an artist. I think she's cool as hell. I think her music's really cool and definitely catchy and fun, especially now that she's hitting so deep into her EDM groove right now. It's awesome. And it made it absolutely bona fide, like for this year. Von Dutch, 365, 360, all of it was great. And especially even with the remixes that she did this year with Spring Breakers, like, it's just awesome. Really enjoyed that album for all it was worth. Now, when I look at the year that was 2024 and the music information that we were going on with that I was focusing on the most this year, very fascinating if I go back and listen to some of the clips of what we talked about here on the program pretty constantly. And I want to go and play back some of those just to kind of give a little taste back of what we were going through at the time and what was really like just barreling along with what we were going through. It was like amazing. So if I got to go through the year comprehensively, First of all, there was Beyonce bullying Music Row starting off in February when she would put out Cowboy Carter, and how that really just like got people going about it, because it was quite a bit of a situation for her and what she did. It's a pressure campaign right now by her fans, Beyonce's fans, and by, I guess, the record label and whoever else, the powers that be coming from her, that they must insist that Music Row must play their music. Now, for some people, you're going to say it a couple different ways. Sure. This is a thing where good on Beyonce to push country radio to go and, bend the boundaries and stop putting boundaries into certain artists that can come in, because there's been a thought process that supposedly, there are certain artists or that maybe black representation is not as much as it should be in country music. I mean, you could make that certain artists to go ahead and be a part. And it's a pressure campaign right now. But, that was part of the thing that happened when it came to Beyonce and her setup for things where she wanted to get more involved, really get country music to go and play, because they targeted a station like I was outside of Oklahoma City that was playing hits and oldies. And somebody said, well, you're being racist for not playing her songs. So, they went after them. And listen, radio decided to cave in, did it. Was it smart for them to go and do that? But listen, they took it. But that kind of pressure campaign might have worked to get her song on radio, on country radio, but it didn't last long. And as for the CMAs and I think the Country Grammys, they didn't care. They went along with it. That was all the music stuff they had, right? We also had Universal Music and the TikTok, basically their own strike, their own issues where all the Universal Music content was taken off from TikTok, and that was quite a run of that. Let's go ahead and play back what happened back then. Don't have any place for your artists to promote or to push new music on TikTok. You want to use Instagram? Not necessarily too much thought process. Well, go back to YouTube videos? Maybe not so much of that either. People still need to go and have their chance to catch music as it should. Now, most funny part is, as soon as Universal Music and that whole 3-month debacle went, everything went back the way it was, which was fine. Why did they have to do anything else? But it was really fascinating on how that whole really came out. Promotion, a free promotion like that, and for radio, it used to be the same thing. When the promotion was valuable, okay, let's take away the fact of how much you're supposed to be making off the music, okay, the royalties, fine. Fraction of royalties for fractions of songs heard. Remember, radio still needs to worry about their own fact, about the fact that they're not spending that much money on royalties when it comes to the music, because of the fact that the music is out there, right? The music is out there. They want to go and charge TikTok for royalties on fractions of music. 15, 30 seconds, maybe 60 seconds. That's it. But the full song is being played by radio, and radio's not paying much for it. And it's a little bit of a different part that we see right now, too. And there was so much music I actually talked about anyway, when it came down to the industry ignorance right now on Spotify and what Apple Music was able to go and do. That kind of issue was going on as well during the year. On our music, we have to go and tease the song and get enough virality on it. So let's make that point real clear. By doing this, again, the artists are once again screwed because they're trying to find their way to get music out there. And they want social media. And how are you going to allow social media to do anything for them and get music they want to go and try to tease and put out there that could be a new record? Now you're making it where, well, TikTok, I mean, you could encourage or force the artists to keep doing viral content on TikTok to get their music played and maybe get an album put out. Well, then you took away the lifeline of that being possible by taking the music off of there, and the music cannot be put there anymore. New music discovery was difficult this year, and I think there was something to be said about what happened earlier in the year that made it difficult. And that was one of the things that I was saying for myself, man, that was such a mistake that happened overall with how things came about. And it really pissed me off. It was a shame that we went through all that anyways. Now, that was what was going on back in March. And then we go into April and we had the rap battle royal and everything that was going on when it came to Kendrick Lamar and Drake and all the other players within. I remember people were complaining about the fact that there was not one rap song, I think, in 2023, or if there was, it was a long time since we saw any rap songs hit number one on the Billboard Hot 100. And it's true. Like, it's been very quiet. But this year, whew, think about it. We had Travis Scott had an album, and I think Gunna had an album, and I was trying to think who else had albums last year. Kanye, that just didn't have that kind of spunk, that really didn't have that kind of momentum. But this year, oh my goodness. Right, there was more to that. So the iHeart Podcast Union says it's distributing flyers to workplace about negotiation. That was another thing with iHeart Podcast Union. I'm trying to remember what I played back and what I was talking about back at this time of what was going on with all the music and everything that was being done in the year of music where it was. And then you had the Canada versus Compton, the fueling the rap music chart resurgence when it came to Kendrick Lamar and Drake, because Type Shit really started everything up. And then we started going in, Meet the Grams, Heart Part 6, and we were just going at it. But now some of the people that are out here that want to follow rap, they're also wanting to say, oh, this is all very much, psychological warfare. Of course, talking about this is the seedy underbelly of rap music. Well, that's what it is. Listen, would it be nice to go back to like the KRS Ones and the Public Enemies and the, gurus of, Gangstar? Yeah, I'd love that. The Big Daddy Kanes, right? Yeah, give me that stuff. The Heavy D stuff. Yeah, give me that. But we're not going by that message music like we had before. The flexing, the one-upmanship, the sex talk, the brand porn. That's what we're going to get. So it's unfortunate that the rap battle didn't really extend out much after that, because we didn't get much out of rap music except for the Kendrick Lamar Drake rap battle. That's really what we all got from it. And there was not much more to it. It's unfortunate that's all we got. But that's what we were stuck with. And I was ashamed to go and see that happen like it was. Now, other things we had going on into the year of music was Afrobeats. Arguably one of the best episodes that I had that everybody was talking about because of the fact that we had all this great Afrobeats music that was coming into the forefront and really taking center stage. Now, I'm not super deep into what's going on with Afrobeats. I just know what's in the purview right now that's charting, that is getting significant airplay and just getting significant noticeability across everything going on right now. I mean, especially when I listen to all the music in the UK. When I hear the chart shows over there and I hear the music coming into the forefront now, and then following along with some of these artists because, you follow them on social media, you see what they're doing, and then you hear new songs, and all of a sudden, hey, Spotify or Apple Music, they might just go ahead and suggest something to you, and you listen. And I'm like, there's so much here that I'm really enjoying. But yeah, I want the ones that are crossing over. So the crossover of Afrobeats really came into play this year. That was another wonderful thing that was really coming out into the forefront. Tyler's been all across it. Thames, Ira Star. I know that Rema came out with a pretty good album. I heard some of his stuff in there. Aseke also. Those are albums I actually listened to. Actual albums. I listened to whole albums. A number of songs that I was enjoying off of all of them. It's our new R&B. I mean, if we're not going to get it from the American artists here, we don't have as much. So to get this from the Afrobeats market, from Nigeria, South Africa, whatever, bring it on. I mean, it's not too much out of the scope for me to go and enjoy Afrobeats because it's a dembo, because it's what reggaeton is. It's what Dominican dembo has. It's what, your run-of-the-mill Jamaican dance hall music and Jamaican music in general, reggae music across the board. It's all consuming that. So it's not that far of a stretch for me to go ahead and get into it. It kind of just blends in. And for people like even probably the 90s that really enjoyed R&B and like really some great melodies, it's like the artists there, they sing great. The mood that was coming into it, also hearing Afro House and all the things that were going on along with this, it really just gave a vibe. And it was just wonderful to hear this all together. I was enjoying it so much. It was just, man, what a rise out of that. And I was enjoying so much of what we were getting from it. Like that's encompassing what was best about the year of music and what we were getting from it. So I was glad to go and see that part coming as well. And one of the things that we got to make mention of that also happened for rock music, which was wonderful, was the return of Oasis. And man, it was nice to see their songs come back up the charts. Oasis and their career the difference between what we are able to go ahead and define who Oasis is here in the States compared to those in the UK. It's a much different story. Oasis is grand. What would be the best example of a group that would be near the size of Oasis in terms of their library and their music? I'm trying to figure out what would be the best example. It would be kind of like maybe Metallica, but I mean, Metallica was not the superstars that you would say. Like, honestly, it was strong rock that crossed over mainstream for the UK. Here, it stayed within the rock realm. It never made it to mainstream. I mean, there's not anybody I can think of that really gives me like that example up to that level, because Oasis really did have that level. Now, one of the things I got to say too is that I understand everybody was saying right now with What's the Story, Morning Glory, that first album was like just full rock bangers and so guitar heavy driven, which is the real rock that Oasis gives. But again, some of the songs they give us after the fact, like, you know, they were epic. Again, that was the real Beatles feel to them, and that's what we got out of that. And I can appreciate what they came us out of that. Like, what we got from it was really fun. It was quite incredible. And going into the fall, the other part that I thought was very important and I was really enjoying was the mainstream that was getting changed because of the fact that radio's kind of behind. Streaming was really giving us opening up some areas when it came to, like I said, Afrobeats, corridos, and country, and what was all encompassing that. Sean Ross puts out a great story, moving on or bearing down, when to give up on a song. It wasn't that hard back in the day to know when to do that. He refers about the stagnation at the top of the charts, the Billboard charts, the release of fewer top 40 radio singles, and a decreased willingness by labels and radio to commit to any song without a streaming story. He goes on to close out saying that through much of the decade, program directors tried to reassert themselves that shorter playlists and glacial turnover were the will of an audience that no longer expected music discovery from radio. Wrong. I talked about that several weeks here on the program about new music discovery still needing to happen. But program directors, I can't blame them. It's the corporations they work for. Let's be honest here. That's to them. Perhaps new music is important to everybody's strategy. Meanwhile, if radio's overall timing gets better, I'm less likely to begrudge a song that merely sounds good on the radio for a few extra weeks. I just wish radio would get their shit together. It really just pisses me off of everything that's going on right now and missing out on things. That's where we are on all that. One final music note, I'm going to go ahead and add iHeartRadio. They put their most played artists and songs of the year. Sabrina Carpenter had more than 2.3 billion total audience spins across the iHeartRadio platform. According to the 2024 iHeart Rewind report, Espresso and Feather were among the top 10 most played. Taylor Swift, SZA, Doja Cat, Morgan Wallen, Luke Combs, Post Malone, Teddy Swims, Jelly Roll, and Dua Lipa round out the top 10 artists. Songs, Agora Hills, Lose Control, Load on Me, Beautiful Things, Espresso, Feather, Saturn, Too Sweet, Snooze, and Bar Song were all top 10 for the songs. That was their list of that. It's, again, antiquated, a little bit behind, but that's just iHeartRadio. That's their brand. By the way, they have now gotten their debt plan for 2029 and beyond. Lenders are going to embrace the iHeartMedia plan to wait on getting themselves paid for another couple of years. They're going to wait back 5 years. So the new deal right now, 92% of lenders are going to be holding more than $4.8 billion worth of loans on board, and they're going to push back the debt maturity dates. So the debt will be handled in 2030. And the company is going to agree to pay another $10 for every $1,000 owed. Wow. iHeart still has $4.79 billion in outstanding debt, the lowest since the company exited bankruptcy. So I guess they're getting a little bit lower down there. They're finally under $5 billion. Oh, good for them. Merry Christmas, iHeartRadio. Anyways, non-commercial stations are going to be paying more royalties to CSAC and GMR. So Copyright Royalty Board judges have approved a 2.6 cost of living adjustment for the CSAC and global music rights paid by non-commercial stations not affiliated with NPR. So change in the market, just, a normal increase, 3.2%. So non-commercial stations will be paying an adjusted rate of $199 per station to CSAC and global music rights. An increase of $5 per station for the current $194 rate. So they're not paying a whole lot, but non-commercial it's a decent little runoff for them. New study from called Breaking Down the Barriers Behind the Audio Investment Gap. It was a release report from WARC Advisory and Odyssey. Yes, that company. They say that Edison research shows daily audio consumption at 220 minutes, 1/3 of the total time spent growing significantly faster than media consumption overall. Audio counts for just 8.4% of ad spend, which need to increase nearly threefold to match its share of ad-supported consumption. So they're saying, okay, that there's 3 times more music out there that is not being ad-supported, and they're only ad-supporting about 8.4% of it. See, there's not enough ads running out there for all the music and all content they're putting out there for free. Yeah, it's real warped thinking right there. And also a study came out from Westwood One that 15% of America now are listening to 6 hours or more a week to podcasts, according to new research from Cumulus Media and Signal Hill Insights. And the fall 2024 podcast download reports that the level of listening results in an average of 6 episodes among weekly listeners listening typically goes across 5 different shows. Interesting to go and say that. One last story I want to bring up before we wrap things up. There's a $2.2 billion overhaul for movie theaters. So with all of the movies coming out right now, we're going to see all the movie theaters are out there, at least most of them. They're going to be taking advantage of an overhaul to a lot of movie theaters to renovate and, make them nicer. So here's what's going on right now. Movies like Wicked, Gladiator 2, and Moana 2 are expected to go in power through $680 million in ticket sales between November 22nd and December 1st. So top chains right now are putting up billions of dollars to get themselves a much needed overhaul. National chains AMC Regal and also Centigos Entertainment are going to spend on upgrades to their physical theaters, ticketing infrastructure, more recliners, larger screens, more legion protectors, and shorter lines for popcorn. So AMC is going to be putting out a new chain exclusive premium format called AMC XL to 50 to 100 of their 660 locations next year. And it'll be plans to spend between $1 billion and $15 billion for the next 4 to 7 years, updating European and American theaters. Regal Cinema has secured $250 million in capital for renovations in July, focusing on updating its ticket app, adding more recliner seats to theaters, and upgrading projectors. Well, I know my theater doesn't have any problem with that. We have recliners, we got newer projectors, we got, concessions are pretty good. Like, it's pretty updated, so I'm okay with that. And they did redo the app. It's working okay. It's not bad. I like some of the changes on it. For whatever reason, I have to go and take the Wi-Fi off for me to go ahead and get the credit card payments to work. But I don't know why it says, but that's what it is. So a strong finish to 2024 is giving movie theater owners more confidence that they can lead to a multi-year box office resurgence free of the release delays that have plagued the industry the last few years. Right. We're not going to be dealing anymore with a strike. So all that's going to be done. But some of the movies that came out and how they came out this year did not do so well. They underperformed. Joker Folie à Deux, right? Wild Robot, Venom the Last Dance, just in October, underperformed all across the board. $58 million domestic, and just bad, not working out at all. Several exhibitors told TheWrap.com they expect the 2025 domestic box office to rise to almost $10 billion. Could be $10 billion as several films overperform. They expect at least 9.5. The record was 2019's $11.3 billion that they made. And remember, 2019 we had Barbie, Top Gun Maverick. And then with hits like Five Nights at Freddy's and Taylor Swift's The Eras Tour with the right film, even averse Gen Z will buy tickets. So that's one of the things they're all talking about in terms of what will bring people to the theaters so far coming up. And if we look at what's going to be coming up in the theaters next year to get us our start off, like I said, Den of Thieves 2 is coming out. I'm looking all forward to that. That's like big deal to me, right? And let's look at the rest. If I have to look at the new year coming up, of the major movies to go and catch, I'm looking right now. Captain America Brave New World is February 14th. That's going to be a big deal. Disney So White is March 21st. A Minecraft movie is April 4th. Thunderbolts, the Marvel movie, is May 2nd. second part of the final reckoning of Mission Impossible is May 23rd. Lilo and Stitch, also May 23rd. So big deal going on for the start of the Memorial Day weekend into the summer. Ballerina comes out. How to Train Your Dragon comes out. 28 years later, Jurassic World Rebirth, a new Superman, a new Smurfs movie, Bad Guys 2, Naked Gun reboot with Liam Neeson, Downton Abbey 3 is September 12th, Conjuring Last Rites is September 5th, another Black Phone 2 was October 17th, Tron Heirs is October 10th, Zootopia 2, November 26th. I can't believe I'm doing another one. Wicked Part 2, November 21st. The Running Man, November 21st. Remake. Five Nights at Freddy's 2, December 5th. Avatar Fire and Ash, December 19th. SpongeBob movie, December 19th. That's all for Christmas weekend. And there's more movies still in 2025 that we can also expect and have not been put into the mix yet, which includes Exorcist Deceiver, Final Destination Bloodlines, Horizon American Saga Chapter 2. I guess it's still going to go to theaters. Legally Blonde 3, Sesame Street, Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, Star Trek 4, Strangers Chapter 2. Yeah, all those are all coming up as well. We'll find out how this is all going to work out, but that's quite interesting. Now, depending on how everything works out next week, if there's not a whole lot of music, a lot of news going out there to talk about next week, then the plan is I will go ahead and do a year-end radio segment, and we'll just kind of go back and play clips and go back and look at what's been comprehensive of the year of radio and just give it out like that. Play the clips back, what my comments were. Obviously, I was very critical about it, and I will remain to be critical, but we'll see what else comes out of that. So until next week, come back for the Broadcasters Podcast. Remember that content is king, and the control of your content is in your hands.